Welcome to a special edition of Sleeper Wire. I'm your host, Jason, and with me tonight is our producer, Rob. Rob, how's it going tonight?
What's going on, man? Going good. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Like, football's about to start. By the time you hear this, football probably will have already started. But this is our second special edition in this offseason, the second craziest story, maybe the first craziest story in the league happened, so we wanted to dive into it. We're going to talk about, of course, Antonio Brown being released from the Raiders and then being picked up with a lot of quickness, Rob, from the Patriots.
With the quickness.
So I think a lot of people are patting themselves on the back. I think everybody called it. I think this was something that, like, everybody saw coming.
Yeah, nobody was surprised about that. It was all over Twitter, and Bill Belichick's reaction. There was 1,400 memes out and immediately.
So how we got here is Antonio Brown was just crazy enough to finally get released from the Raiders. So we ended up with the frostbite thing, the helmet thing again, not showing up for practice, threatening to fight his GM, calling him a cracker, apologizing to his team, getting all of his guaranteed money taken away, and finally asking to be released.
So somewhere in there, if he was serious in this whole debacle, you want to tell me a grown-ass man actually believed that there would be no ramification and that saying I'm sorry to a group of people would be all the consequences he faced for all of the above and all the ridiculous social media attention. I believe the term I heard was conduct detrimental to the team.
Yeah, so I think where a lot of people have landed on this is that AB got to Oakland, looked at the personnel, looked at the playbook, looked at the situation. He moved from Pittsburgh that had great structure in place and saw what was there in Oakland and said, okay, how am I going to get myself out of this? I've made a giant mistake.
Got to go.
I got to go, and the only way I can do it is figure out how to get them to cut all my guaranteed money. So, obviously the Raiders look bad in this. They traded a third and a fifth. And I honestly think that Gruden, if he had his way, would be lining AB up tomorrow, Monday, to play. And I think it was 100% a Mayock decision here, because I think the apology worked for Gruden. Gruden was like, fine, you're cool, let's get back on the field, bud. And Mayock's like, dude, he just threatened to punch me in the face. What are you talking about? He's gone.
Well, and that, they definitely set him up, and they knew that he was already in a heightened emotional state, and Mayock slaps him with a $215,000 plus fine, and, hey, guess what? Your guaranteed money is voided, so you're going to have to play for every penny now. I think they knew that was going to get under his skin when they did it, and they got the reaction they were looking for.
They absolutely got the reaction they were looking for, and he finally got what he wanted. I think he escalated until he finally got himself off the team.
Agreed.
Now what I disagree with that I've seen a lot out there is people saying that there was collusion or tampering on the part of the Patriots. Now, it's the Patriots. Everybody says they cheat. And listen, they've been caught here and there. Not like every other team doesn't tamper and doesn't have their issues. But, because the Patriots win, they get busted every time and called the Cheatriots. I don't think the Patriots had anything to do with this. I think this was all Antonio wanting to get out and then Bill Belichick just taking an opportune moment.
I think it's an awesome conspiracy theory, and I love conspiracy theories, but I think that's really all that it is a conspiracy theory. I think Bill Belichick sat back like Michael Jackson with 3D glasses and a box of popcorn waiting for Thriller to start, watching this whole thing unfold just like, oh, yes, Mr. Burns back there, excellent, yes. And it just got better and better. He's like, oh, sweet. So, yeah, you guys thought we were rolling out with no wide receivers. Guess what? Now we got Julian Edelman, Josh Gordon, Antonio Brown, and our wide receiver 4 is Demaryius Thomas. So, yeah, Super Bowl number 7.
Yeah, so since you've mentioned the Patriots, let's go over, obviously this is not just NFL impact, but it's fantasy impact. So let's go over the fantasy implications for what just happened. So for the Patriots, who is up and who is down? Now let's go through them one by one. So what do you think about Gordon? Up or down?
I think Josh Gordon, man, I didn't have a whole lot of high expectations for him this year, but I think if it's going to be him and Antonio Brown on the outside and Julian Edelman in the slot, I guess it kind of puts his stock up in my book, but I was very low on him to begin with. So what about you?
So the worry I have is that the Patriots did very little 3 wide receiver. I think only 43% of the time last year. Part of that's due to having Gronkowski on the field and having extra tight ends and now their tight ends are hot garbage. So and with the talent they have at wide receiver, now you can see them definitely going more 3 wide receiver, but they're not a team typically known to go 3 wide receiver. So sometimes it's going to be either Brown or Gordon, and I can't see that Gordon wins in that, especially later in the season as Brown gets acclimated. So I think it's a small dip down, but as they go more 3 wide receiver, it only helps to have somebody of AB's talent on the field to draw coverage away from Gordon, and especially the next guy we're going to talk about with Edelman. So now what you have is AB and Gordon who can stretch the field, and that leaves a whole lot of underneath for everybody's favorite slot receiver. So for me, Edelman ticks up big time here. What about you?
I had Edelman as a borderline wide receiver 1 before, probably around like 13, 14. But I think that Antonio Brown's definitely going to have some weeks where he scores more, but I think you're right. Those guys are going to draw a lot of the defense away, and it's going to leave a lot of targets for Julian Edelman and James White on those underneath routes and dump-off safety valve passes.
Yeah, the hard part for Edelman is because he has the talent to be a wide receiver 1, and now he's not going to draw the coverage that he would have before this. Really the only issue you can see with Edelman now is just the health. Like, if he can stay healthy, he has the capability of being a really solid wide receiver 1, potentially top 10, but it's really about his health because every time you turn around, he's got another small injury. So that's my only trepidation with him, but I do like Edelman's stock because of this move. So you mentioned White. White is on his way up a little bit too because those underneath passes are going to be wide open. What about Sony Michel? So we've heard all off season they want to move into being a running team. Having this other option at wide receiver just gives you the option to pass a lot more than you were at the beginning of this offseason. So do you think Sony Michel takes a hit? Do you think he benefits from not having as many guys in the box? What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. He's going to benefit from not having as many guys in the box. You can't stack the box when you got those 3 guys out there. No way, man. They're going to shred you. So you're going to see a lot of lighter boxes, and I think Sony Michel's going to feast on a lighter defense up the middle. And they already talked about they were going to use him more. It looks like he's going to be a breakout out there this year. So I really expect over 1,000 yards on the ground for Sony Michel this
somebody
year.
Who's kind of been left for dead for the Patriots as far as fantasy football goes. He's still one of the greatest of all time, right? But Tom Brady, hardly drafted, especially in 1-quarterback leagues. But now you're talking about elite weapons at all 3 wide receiver positions. Does this put him in a position? Is he still a streamer for you? Because even as a streamer last year, I didn't touch him, and I'm a late quarterback guy, so I didn't have him even as a streamer. He was just out there and available. Does this make him a streamer? Does this make him a guy that you could draft as a top 12 guy? What do you think?
I wouldn't say top 12. That's a little generous. But I certainly think he has weeks this year where he will be a quarterback 1, if not the quarterback 1. But I didn't touch him with a stick last year, but this definitely, I think, brings him into the stream radar. And if the matchup is favorable and he's going to be able to feast on that defense, I think he could definitely be a strong play.
The Dolphins twice. I just throwing that out there. Those are 2 weeks that I am looking to pick up Tom Brady. So obviously it affects the Patriots. Now we got to talk about what this does to Oakland. Aside from losing a star, the day before week 1, he wasn't with the team a lot anyway. So I'm not going to say it messes up the chemistry. He wasn't there. He didn't play that much. I don't think he played at all in the preseason. So it doesn't hurt the chemistry at all, but it does change the game plan. So we got Tyrell Williams. Man, if you had the smart money, you were buying Tyrell last week, just seeing all of this going on. His stock's through the roof, right?
Sure, he's going to be the bona fide wide receiver 1, but does that give you confidence? Are you happy to have Derek Carr as your QB1 right now?
And listen, his stock has risen, but I don't know. Like he's a good week 1 stash. He's a guy to have on the end of your bench, and if he goes off, right? Like if he has a good week, okay, now maybe you move him into your starting lineup for guys that disappoint, like Geronimo Allison, right? So you drafted Geronimo Allison higher than you thought. Week 1 comes out, no targets, so now you got to deal with Tyrell Williams. So maybe he could slot in for a guy like that. But week 1, I wouldn't start him. But his stock is definitely up. One guy I would start, I know you are starting him, is Darren Waller.
Yes, I expect him to feast. You and I were talking about this before we started recording, and I am loving that I got him in our Sleeper Wire Crew League, and I am starting him against Steve this week, and I am hoping to see him pour it on, ooh baby. But real talk, like Darren Waller is definitely a great receiving option.
Well, and what we've seen, we saw with Jared Cook last year, Derek Carr likes to go to a tight end when there's not a better receiving option, and right now there's really not much of a better receiving option out there. The other big name that we've got to talk about here is Josh Jacobs. Man, so we were talking about Sony Michel eating because there's not stacked boxes, so you just have to feel bad for Josh Jacobs because now the depth of target for Derek Carr was the lowest in the league last year. He throws closer to the line of scrimmage than anybody else, which means the safeties can play up, the corners can play press, and that box is stacked. So now you've got Josh Jacobs up against 8-man boxes, and he's a rookie. He's supposed to be good, but can he overcome with some of the better defenses anyway?
He's not the biggest guy either. He's definitely got some power and a mean streak. He likes to hit. But is he going to be able to do that consistently into 8-man boxes into week 16? I mean, that's a lot to ask of somebody. So I have a question for you real quick. Do you think that this in any way actually boosts Jalen Richard's stock? He's kind of fallen off because of the thought of Josh Jacobs, but now that they're going to need to get some other receiving options, maybe the Raiders use him kind of Tariq Cohen, split him out while Jacobs is on the field. Think he can get some more looks now that Antonio Brown's not going to be there?
If I had... Now, I'm a Buccaneers fan, so I'll preface it with that. If I had faith in the coaching staff to be movable, I would believe that Jalen Richard would be out there Tariq Cohen style out in the slot. But too many times I've seen a Coach Gruden-led team not adjust to circumstances. He likes putting players in his system and not craft his system for players. So, and he doesn't make halftime adjustments. He doesn't make adjustments that way. So I like Jalen Richard if you were in a system where the coach would adjust to his personnel, but I just don't see John Gruden doing that. So no, I don't have much interest in Richard for that reason. And hopefully he can prove me wrong.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. I mean, he was a great sneaky guy to have as a flex play last year. Once you're into the bye week shuffle, he actually had some pretty good weeks, and it's kind of disappointing to see him kind of get faded out. But I was so excited for Josh Jacobs, and I do have him in a couple places. So I'm hoping that he can stand up to the test. But we are going to see what he's made of. And probably very
and
quickly.
You know, he's opportunity in fantasy football is key. Like talent, talent is part of it, and we saw that again with Thursday night. Like everybody with eyeballs saw that David Montgomery was the best running back on the field, and every time he touched the ball, he was great. But his opportunity wasn't there. Opportunity is key. Josh Jacobs is the guy. So is he going to have a lot of 1-yard runs? Probably, but it just takes 1 or 2 breakout runs. And listen, what does stack box do? It means if you miss a tackle, there's nobody back. So, you saw that last year a lot with Saquon Barkley, who broke, I think, the most 20-plus yard runs. I'm a little shaky on that, but I think it was the most 20-yard runs. Why? Because he was running against a stacked box. He made a guy miss because he's incredible that way. And then there's nobody back there to catch him. So that can happen with Josh Jacobs too, if given the opportunity and the talent. So talent plus opportunity equals he's probably still going to be okay.
I agree. I definitely don't have him dropping out of the RB2 range.
If you liked Josh Jacobs as an RB2 before this, like he drops maybe 1 or 2 spots, this definitely hurts him. But at this point, you've drafted him anyway, right? So it's not like you're gonna be able to go back and take a Chris Carson or somebody instead of him. So you're riding with the guy you got.
That's very true, very true. And you're not. Maybe if he goes out and blows up week 1, trade him to get a more possibly consistent asset like a Chris Carson, because right now he's not going to have that much value. But if he goes off week 1, he's definitely that's where his value is going to skyrocket.
Well,
right
so
there.
I know this is a short, just AB focused show. Did you have anything else you wanted to bring up with related to this, or do you want to button this up?
So I got to ask you, man. Would you hold or try and buy Antonio Brown with the Patriots? And if you were going to buy him, what are you trying to pay for him?
So here's the thing. I own him in 2 dynasty leagues. I was getting ridiculous offers this morning after the news. I've made it known in both my dynasty leagues that I'm trying to sell him now. I haven't received any offers because I think everybody's trying to feel out the market, right? It's tough because it's going to be a couple weeks before he's acclimated. He can't play week 1. Week 2, if he's out there, it's going to be basic route tree stuff, So he's probably not going to be a wide receiver 1. But after that, he could absolutely be, vying for wide receiver 1 the rest of the way. So it's hard to figure out. I would take Mike Evans straight up for him right now. I think that's so the second tier of wide receivers I would go. I would probably take a running back too. So Josh Jacobs and one of the Rams wide receivers is like I'm looking for something good for him as an owner. Now, if I'm trying to buy him, I'm obviously trying to give less. So what are you? And I think the buy low time is gone. So what are you thinking his value is right now?
Yeah. Well, like you said, he's not eligible to play this week. So next week, I don't expect much. So you're looking at, what does that give you? 8 weeks of fantasy production before the fantasy playoffs. And that absolutely could be wide receiver 1 weeks. I think if I was trying to buy him, man, I would want to come in with a lower offer, but you're not going to get him for super cheap. So maybe if I went running back heavy and Mark Ingram was the 4th running back I took in the 4th round, maybe I try and give Mark Ingram for Antonio Brown and see where that gets me.
If it were me, I'd say Mark Ingram and get me another piece. Get me a wide receiver, and maybe we have, because I am a Brown guy, but I also I am now at the point where I see that there is a world in which this doesn't work. So I'm trying to see if I can get what value I can get for him.
How about Mark Ingram, Curtis Samuel?
I think Curtis Samuel's a little light.
Okay, so we got to go higher than that. Is it Mark Ingram, Chris Godwin level?
That would get it done for me. 100% I would trade Mark Ingram and Chris Godwin. I am 100% there.
Now, would you give up Mark Ingram and Chris Godwin to get Antonio Brown?
Honestly, I might. It depends. So it always depends on your team makeup. Like in my dynasty leagues where I have him, I would be better off having an Ingram and a Chris Godwin. But just because like I'm thinking about getting to the playoffs, and I think those two pieces get me to the playoffs. Where I think Antonio Brown, if you have a solid team, that's the guy that's going to put you over the top once you're there. So it really does depend on the makeup of your team. But like I honestly could see myself paying that if I had those pieces, and I would definitely give up Antonio Brown for those. So I think both ways works. I think that's about where the market is. But we'll see. Like we're going to see over the next several days. And the reason I like the fact that we're going to be doing some live shows over the next week, one with the Blitz and two with the Mail Sack, is we're going to probably hear from people who have either received offers or given offers. And that's kind of where what I'm looking for. I want to see where the market settles. But like, yeah, if I could get Ingram and Godwin for AB right now, sign me up. I like it.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think that's got this whole thing covered. I appreciate everybody listening. If you want to hear some more, we're going to be on the Blitz tomorrow morning, Sunday morning. We got shows all week. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at SleeperWire. Rob is at ESOBAR1, ESOBOR1.
There's an R in there. ESORBOR1.
There you go. And he's ESORBOR, ESORBOR on Sleeper. I am at FL Dr. Milbarge on Twitter and at BFTG Dr. Mill on the Sleeper app. So for us this week, guys, go get your ABs or sell them, whatever you want to do. But thanks for listening.